Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of MTG Study Hall Quarantine Edition. I am one of your hosts, Brett, and I am joined, as always, by JC, Lily, and Dave. We've also got Tam on the mic. And before we launch into everything, Tam is going to take care of a little bookkeeping for us.
Absolutely. If you like the show and you want to go out and support us, please go to patreon.com/TCGuniversity. Sub at any of those awesome rates, just like all of these awesome people did. We've got Addie, Andrew Dang, Anthony Albino, Bryce Rasak, Chris Miner, Clay Cardwell, Jay Rogers, Jarrett Hubbard, Jesse Morrison, John Stone, Justin Forrest, Justin Hobbs, Kat Maria, Kevin Broberg, Kieran Vision, Lucinda Letica, he had me change it. Okay, Mawa, Paul Casagrande, Ransom MacArthur, Peyton Kiker, Samantha Stevens, the baddest bitch around, Sean O'Brien, Theodore Ruiz, and Tyler Zane Peace. Thank you so much for going out and supporting the show. But if you don't have any bucks to toss our way, that's totally fine. You can get the podcast as a podcast out on your podcast services, iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, etc., as well as watch the whole episode with out on YouTube, youtube.com/TCGuniversity. Lastly, big shout outs to our sponsors for this episode. We've got Cards Custom Build, Inked Gaming, Dex Protection, and Nuclear Inked Custom Tattoo, but we'll talk about those a bit later.
Thank you very much, Tam. We've got plenty to talk about this week. Before we do that, as always, we're going to talk about what we've been doing in Magic this past week. Dave, what have you been doing?
Trying to break M21. Not very well, but I think we've got some cool shit we'll probably be doing soon in the stream. In a pseudo-delirious state, I went, you know what? Let's take some shrines, see what's up there. And we'll get more into that later in the episode. Yeah.
Alrighty. JC, what have you been doing?
Oh, I gotta be honest, not too terribly much. I've dumped my entire life and a lot of money into VR recently, so that's me.
Fair enough. Alrighty. And then, Lily, what have you been doing?
Trying to make Simic Clover happen.
Simic Clover?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the color what's the combo it's the red green the red green blue clover I've seen a little of.
I might splash out, but yeah, I've been trying to make that a thing.
Is that
because nope. But it turns the Rosethorn Acolyte into like rituals, which is super dope. But
okay, well I forget that the adventure cards are a thing. Oh, and will continue to be a thing. So
right. Yeah, and the ramp spell's really good because the lands come into like the giant comes in play untap, so that's a good one to copy. Like, I don't know, and then like the fairy that bounces things is like really good. Like, it's all really good stuff to copy. The deck on paper should be good, but it's not.
Yeah, the only thing I'd tell you on that one, unsolicited advice, just make sure you know how your triggers resolve, because I played against the Sultai version. And there's nothing quite like them going, all right, you have one target. Cast the Murder Strider and target that thing twice. Your trigger resolves first, and then your spell fizzles. And it's so much fun watching them go, wait, shit.
Where's my Murder Strider go?
I definitely caused enough adventure spells to fizzle in Corval to not be on the other side of that.
Don't know why my watch is starting to try to work out right now. Okay. Well, no, you'll have to keep me posted on that because I forgot the adventure. Okay, well, if it gets good, let me know, I guess. And as for me, I've got a little M21, got my physical cards. I get my collector's boosters tomorrow, which is always exciting. I'm excited to see what ridiculous shiny things I get. A lot of playing Commander. My roommate Dan bug me. We can do so. I'm happy to do more video chat Commander, but Dan is branching out into more than green.
I know. Ray said that they signed on the Ur Dragon. No, Ur Dragon.
Yeah, regular old. Regular old new style Ur Dragon. And I think the good one with Eminence, which was a mistake. But anyway, so
that's the one okay Eminence card.
Yeah, that one's probably okay. But Eminence was still probably a mistake. Anyway, but playing Commander, having a good time, and doing a little bit. I was not able to do Brawl with Brett 2 weeks in a row. I had to go pick out a puppy, which I'm very excited about, and I'm sure everyone on the show and the stream will see more of the dog once we have the dog. But he's still too tiny for us to take him yet. But I will do Brawling with Brett. It was just a brief hiatus. We'll be back on next Thursday, and I will be playing with the new cards. So that will be what's happening then. Let's launch into this. So we're going to open up today's show talking about current draft design and how Wizards has been making how they've been making their limited environments and how they feel about it. So I wish I had come in with a firm time of this is when WOTC's definitely started doing this, but I feel like it's probably right around Magic Origins, and correct me.
It was after Khans of Tarkir.
Okay. Very briefly, for those who are less familiar, so we've talked about in the show previously, limited formats of Magic. It's where you play Magic with sealed product and you don't come with a pre-constructed deck. So we're going to be talking about both sealed and draft because this is going to reference both of them. Basically, whenever they make a set of a full size set, their normal size set, be it one of the 4 big releases or a Masters set or one of their I'm totally blanking on what their innovation set for the year, like Conspiracy or Battle Bond. The idea is they create a limited environment that you can use the cards for other stuff, but you can also play with the cards in there. And so in recent years, particularly in their main 4 big releases, and I think easiest to see in the core sets, which we just had come out, they have been giving very clear archetypes. And in the core sets, generally, there's 10 different archetypes. It's each of the 2 color pairs. And generally, there is something that those color pairs do. So in this core set...
you mean the Signpost Uncommons? That was original Theros, I think, was the first set those were in.
Signpost Uncommons, I was about to go into those, which is, let's definitely talk about those. So it's the Signpost Uncommons, they've started adding those in, and those kind of demonstrate what they are. So for example, in M21, the red-white Signpost Uncommon is that 2/2 for 2 that goes and fetches the red dog and the white dog, and then when he attacks, and when he attacks, you get boosted for your team. So basically, the red one is kind of like go wide; it goes out and fetches other small creatures. And the red-white archetype is built around that. The red-black archetype is built around sacrificing things. The blue-black is a reanimation one. The white-green is a +1/+1 counter theme. The red-blue one is a prowess spells build. The blue-white one is flying. I actually wasn't counting. I was just doing this with my fingers, so I'm completely off on what they are. But you get my drift. Those have been very clearly laid out there. And now when they preview a set, we know what Signpost Uncommons are talking about. This is newer design philosophy.
Right.
I want to just kind of open it up to the floor. What do y'all think about that compared to how they used to do it where, well, I'm not saying they didn't. They certainly had synergies and plans and things. It was never so clear. It wasn't as clear cut, I think is probably fair to say.
So I personally like it. So they're fun to design. They stand out when you're drafting. It's easy as like a player who doesn't know the set to look at that and be like, that is the deck in this set. So that's a whole thing, right? But it has also sort of created, I don't know if it's better or worse, but a more deliberate, it seems to have created a more deliberate draft experience.
Okay, yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that. JC, do you play much limited? Do you have any thoughts on this? I don't know how much you played in the past compared to newer designs.
I actually kind of like draft as a format and stuff like that. I think what I like about signposting and generally their design philosophy and where I feel like it's going is it makes it a little bit more of a cohesive draft. I mean, like it makes it a little easier for people to step in and latch onto something and then like pursue that thing, and it signals to other people kind of what you're pursuing. So it kind of, I feel like it makes the draft a little bit more cohesive and easier to go through.
I wouldn't disagree with that, and particularly with something in draft in particular, because sealed, there's only so much you can do. It's if you see one of the signpost uncommons in sealed, it might direct you towards the general theme. But in draft, like you said, if you start seeing those get passed to you, that's a message. So if 4th pick on pack 1, you see a signpost uncommon,
then they're not playing that.
Right? Likely someone aren't in those. Now, generally they've been pretty good and limited, and so maybe there was some really good bombs in removal, then those should have, and somebody might be in those archetypes, but it's generally a good indicator. If you start seeing those pack 2, pack 3, it's pretty clear to be like, okay, I've got a decent idea of what's going on. Dave, what are your thoughts on signpost uncommons and maybe a more deliberate design strategy.
Yeah, it's. I tried the Boros one in particular. Like I had started drafting what was virtually mono white, trying to splash red, and I just never saw the dogs. Like I think I saw like 2 of the red dogs, and I got 2 of those Boros uncommons, and it just didn't work out. Like it was this card just seems bad at this point. I think if
still a 2/2 for 2 that gives your team +1/+0 when he attacks.
Yeah, he boosts himself.
Yeah, it's just
I think
the thing is like since I was so heavily red and like the only red card that I really had were like 2 of the curs, it just didn't seem worth it. If I had more of like the 2/2 with vigilance, it probably would have been a bit better. If that like net you 2 cards and did something, then it's like Ranger of Eos. But it just a 2/2 for 2 and it made my mana worse. It just didn't seem good. But that, like, I think if I would have started the draft, like, in pack 1, because I didn't pick up those 2 until pack 2.
Yeah, no, I actually had a similar, I had a slightly different experience, but somewhat similar. I like first or second picked that Boros signpost uncommon, which is probably too soon to do that. But I was like, I'm going to try this. This seems good. It's a creature for 2 that draws me 2 cards from my deck. That's good. I'm going,
does that.
Yeah, so it's like I'm going to draft these dogs. I'm gonna prioritize. Like, I'm gonna take this early. I'm gonna take the Cur. I'm gonna take the Vigilance Saint Bernard. I'm gonna do that.
God, Saint Bernards are fantastic dogs.
Kind of a thing where it's like, okay, I picked this up and I kind of picked this up, and now I kind of know what I'm about, and I'm going to pursue that. And these things keep getting passed to me. So obviously that person's not about that. Like I kind of like I like how directed it feels.
And it was. I was probably not making the optimal choices, but I wanted to try the archetype out, and B, I wanted to see if it worked, and I think what I was doing was something that a newer player could certainly latch on to, because first picking the signpost and then snagging all the things that play nice with it, even if you maybe aren't picking the best things, maybe you're letting some removal pass that you probably should be taking higher. I'm sure I did in that draft, but I think
there's a lot to be said for synergy, honestly.
There is, and I think it teaches you a lot of lessons, and it makes you think. I mean, and I actually particularly like the dog in common. I think we've talked about it on the show at some point, Lily. You don't always love the cards that say, when you play this, go get this. I do kind of
never like those. To correct you there, I never like those. There's not a single one that I like.
I kind of like those. Oh, so go ahead, JC.
Oh, I was wondering why.
Because it's big old ham-fisted game design.
You would absolutely love the old Star Wars CCG, wouldn't you?
I have no context.
Yeah,
we'll cover that one at the post show. You'll hate it. You'll hate it as much as I did.
See, I was going to say, I like those kind of things, and I don't think they're necessarily for the more experienced player, but I think it is nice for the new player to say, this card says when I play it, go get these cards. I should look for those cards. And it's a good synergy lesson. And I think ham-fisted is a fair assessment, but sometimes when you're new, you need them ham mitts.
Can we just say dog? Just search a library for a dog?
I mean that's fair, because like I think what I was going to defend about it was not even just a new player aspect. Like, you kind of get a little bit of storytelling in your mind, and you kind of get a little bit of like thinking about like, this guy cares about his dogs, like it just creates kind of a fun thing. And I kind of like miniature storytelling and headcanon things that you can throw in while you're playing. I mean, it's fun.
And
sorry,
the art
I
on
need
those.
to correct myself. There has been one that I liked of that, and that was the one in Fate Reforged.
That was a cool one, where one was from the past and one was from the future.
No, where the artificer was in the past, and then the vial, then the bow was in the Khan's future, and the vial of Dragonfire was in the
it was the split timeline. That was a good storytelling implementation. But no, JC, I agree. And like the art of that guy, I can't think of the card's name. I'm totally blanking on it. But both of the dogs are in that art, and so when you assemble your mini bad limited Exodia, you get to like, oh, here they are, and here they are in the art. See, I like it. I think it's a good guidance thing, and it was a nice, easy way. It's like it was my second or third draft. I was like, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I don't know what's good yet. I don't know what colors are strong. I don't know what I should be leaning towards yet. I'm still trying to appraise the removal. Now it's a core set. It's not the most complicated thing in the world, but in my defense, I was tired. And so it seemed like an easy path to take. And I went 3-3. It went fine. It wasn't blowing the doors down, but I mean, it was an okay experience. But something I wanted to make sure we brought up is we've been, at this point, they're kind of overlapping. They're reusing themes, which I don't think their goal should be necessarily to
Alpine Houndmaster. That's the guy.
Okay. That is and
it was driving me insane.
And it's like Ignis Kerr or something, and then I don't remember what the St. Bernard's called.
Ignis Kerr and
Alpine Watchdog.
And there we go. Okay. Sorry to everyone who is yelling at their watching or listening device at the name of those. Thank you so much, JC. But we've been getting the same, so the Theros green-red one was creatures power 4 or greater, and then we're getting the same one. So like Black Sacrifice, green-red power 4 or greater, they're reusing them, and now I'm not saying they should try to reinvent the wheel every time because they're going to run out of design space or start having to do weird, bendy things, but is anyone getting a little tired of it? Because some of the cards we're seeing, I think there's that one of the red enchantments, the one if you control a power 4 or greater, exile a card and then you can cast it till your next turn. That was just in Theros, and now it's and here it is again. Do that again.
It feels like that's what they want Red's card draw to be. Very, very, very narrow, very specific, and this is your chance to use it or it's gone.
And I love Sean draw. I'm not here to or impulse draw, however you want to call it. I like that. I'm just does anyone have any? I'm a little weirded out when it's this was the Theros red green thing, and now it's the core set red green thing. Red green can do other things than just care about power 4 greater.
I think they could be a lot more creative with it. I get with the core set wanting to streamline, and I think any situation where you can reprint a card and have it be good is optimal. But I'm very pro reprint. But I think what they should be doing is kind of shuffling things around a bit. There's some archetypes. Does it always have to be blue-white flyers? Could we do black-blue flyers? Could we do white-blue? Eldraine had white-blue artifacts and enchantments.
Yeah, or white-blue defenders or something.
But also sticking with synergistic themes allows you to build onto more constructed formats later on that we make use of that same synergy. But I see what you're saying. Some variation would be nice because then you could just make different constructed decks.
And I want to. If you would have asked me the question that I asked everyone 3-4 months ago, I would have been no, I'm all about it. I love this, what they've been doing. But then they did Ikoria. And Ikoria has been personally one of my favorite limited environments ever. Now, I'm willing to say that the cycling stuff is pushed a little too hard. Everything having 1 mana cycling was probably a bit too much. And
that's a lot.
And
agreed. That's pretty. Yeah.
Part of the problem too was I think the cycling deck would have been fine if you're playing in an actual 8-person pod where there's only so many cycling cards, but because right now, particularly right now in COVID land, we're playing Arena, and Arena you draft with 8 people, which oh my gosh is a godsend because the bot drafts are garbage. The Ikoria bot drafts were a hot garbage fire, and Eldraine Limited was ruined for me because the only good deck was the mono blue mill deck, it seemed like. But they added in Ikoria, they added the 8-person draft, which was great, but you still might run into way too many people with the a pod might only support 1 or 2 cycling decks, but when you started getting to higher wins, the cycling decks started emerging as the really, really good decks, and that kind of became the tier 1 deck when everything else felt tier 2, unless you were running Giganta Companion or some shit.
We've got a decent amount of issues, at least as far as logistics of drafting. Because in the old days, we'd have 8 people at a table, and that's your draft. You know who you're going to play against in the first round. You know who you're going to play against if you win or if you lose, and you know who you would potentially play against if you make it to the finals. Person on either side.
You've also seen half the cards in the pool.
Yeah. You should know what everybody's playing against. That was the thing that used to happen in the old money draft days. Is there were people that I would play against that knew every card in my deck functionally, and they were across the table from me. I don't know how the fuck they knew that, but like, they were playing on a completely different level that I don't know if I can ever actually achieve.
4D chess.
You kind of, yeah.
8D backgammon. That's my new favorite.
It was along those lines. Then we ended up with what happened on Magic Online, and what they started doing was they saw the popularity of how you did drafts in fucking goddamn it, Hearthstone. Yeah, how you do it in Hearthstone, and it took off. Like, you drafted against, well, not really against, but you drafted with bots essentially, and you had like, here are your options for this. And it was a good deal different. And the idea is, if we do it this way, then you don't have to be like tied to the game for the next 4 to 5 hours. You can just pick up a draft, do a round, and then come back to it later.
Yeah, which I would do some Modern Masters and like Phantom drafts on but Moto back in the day. But yeah, you needed 5 or 6 hours set aside because like you had to draft the deck. I mean, if it was going to be a draft in a 4-round tournament, it's minimum 4 hours. Which is a hell of a commitment for like, oh, it's the evening. Do I want to start a draft now? And there's downtime. You'd play and then you'd wait 30 minutes because if your game went over fast or your opponent
still have to do that. Absolutely. And I remember the old days of watching people, like on stream. One of my favorite things was watching Jan Vandervecht. I got close. Watching him draft Cube. And like in between rounds, he just play Reciteer. Which is a sweet game, but like you want to watch him for Storm. You want to watch him play Storm and Cube because that was the really cool part. But then watching him play that game was also kind of cool. And sometimes you kind of got into that a little bit more, and you're like, do we have to play more Magic? I want to watch you exploit capitalism. Mm-hmm. So, that was one of the drawbacks of the old system is you had so much downtime. But then the other parts were you theoretically knew what your opponents were playing.
And there was an archetype couldn't be overrepresented because you had 24 packs.
Right.
So if everyone tries to force cycling, 3 people are gonna have a really bad cycling deck, and the person who took what was open, you could the skill of drafting.
I have been in those drafts before. Exactly.
I've gotten past 3 pacifisms and had the person to my right be in white. Like the struggle is real. Like that's a real fucking thing that would happen.
So one thing I really like about Ikoria's draft design is you didn't just have the signal posts. There are like build around keyword archetypes too with those 5 hybrid uncommons.
No, that's actually what I wanted to talk about. So yeah, we got this wall. There were some issues with how you draft and cycling, and that's the whole thing. And we can and probably should talk some more about that. Ikoria was such a great limited environment because when people weren't just forcing cycling, there was a lot of archetypes.
Right.
So there were the wedges. So first off, being able to draft 3 colors was really cool because that's not something you can normally easily do. So having that be the fixing there to have that be the norm was awesome. The 10 companions were a pseudo mini game where if you got one of them, you could really kind of push that. And if you were willing
early pick.
Yeah, if you got an early pick companion, some of my favorite games were early pick companions. But then there'd be like, oh, there's a really good blue-red discard spells deck if you get Rien. So like I drafted that deck and went 7-1 and it was the coolest time I had in Ikoria. And then there were the ally color keyword ones. So there was the hybrid keyword ones, but then there were the rare cycle of ally creatures that had something like the vigilance matters.
The thing that's important to note too is with a cycle of allied colored creatures, each allied pair is only represented entirely in one wedge.
So yeah, so like you'd be drafting, it's like, oh, maybe I'm going to go into Sultai here. I've got really good blue, decent black, decent green, but then you see the white-green vigilance guy, and it's like, ooh, that's really good. Maybe I should take this, but then there were just so many choices in Ikoria. And then there was like a really fast white-black humans deck. There was the scary cycling deck. There was the, I'm going to just keep slamming honey mammoths because I have now stabilized. There was the green-black reanimate deck. Like, Ikoria Limited was fucking great. And like, then coming back to the core set, like I played a lot of Ikoria Limited. I have a play set of almost every card in Ikoria. I played a lot of draft.
Ikoria's a very good set.
And so like there were some issues and companions were generally fine and limited. Sometimes it'd be a little bit like, oh, that's Gigantha. And actually, I like the companions with the new rule. I think it doesn't hamper them too much in limited. Still having that extra card that does really strong stuff is good. So Ikoриa's got baggage. I will admit that, but I can't think of a set I was more excited to play limited in since Dominaria, at least.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And now going back to the core set has made me feel a little. Normally, I'm super whooped on core sets, but now it's like I miss my dumb 3-color stuff. But there was something that Dave brought up that I think is going to pivot us a little bit. So we're going to keep talking about this, but shrines. One of the most fun I've had in the new core set is I went 2 colors, but splash for the blue shrine. And oh boy, having the green, the red, and the blue shrine is really exciting. So Dave, let's talk about shrines.
Yeah, let's do that. That's kind of what the pitch was yesterday in our little group chat was the idea, and of course the clickbaity title here. The old thing of WOTC hates combo. They don't hate combo. They fucking love limited combo, and I'm gonna tell you why. So, shrines, in particular, was kind of what brought it to my attention. Like, playing a 3-color shrine deck, I drafted a Grixis one, and realized exactly how strong all 3 of the Grixis shrines were, and how potentially decent the white and the green ones could be.
The green one's really solid. The green one's just like a ramp spell.
Yeah, which is weird, because then, like, the green one fixes you for the other colors, and I kind of wanted to do that. And it was weird, like, because I was about to just go 4 colors, no green, which is generally not what you want to do. But so for those of you that may not know, the shrines are a cycle that they've kind of reprinted, not really. They've like elaborated on from reimagined. I guess would be reimagined. Okay, we'll go with that. That's good too. So it's a type of the enchantment. It's a shrine, and subtype. Thank you. They're also legendary. So them and multiples of the same one generally not great, but we'll get to that later. Each one has an effect. And their effect is do this for each shrine you have. So the black one, I think, is leaps and bounds the best one of the core set. And that is your opponents lose X life, you gain X life, where X is the number of shrines you have in play. It by itself is like ill-gotten
it's
inheritance.
2 mana.
I think you played that.
It's it's not bad. It's not bad. It puts some pressure.
Yeah, it's fine. Like, I played it in the life game deck.
Right.
And it was okay. It's fucking win con in the shrine deck. The red one is deceptively very, very good, I think. And that is deal X it is discard a land or a shrine from your hand to deal X damage to target creature or planeswalker, where X is the number of shrines you have in play. Like that, I think that makes the deck work. Between those two in particular, you have a win con and a way to control the board.
And with the green, when I was running it, the green one put me into the blue one, which put me into the red one, and then all of a sudden I'm drawing because the blue one. Sorry, Dave, you were explaining them all.
Oh, yeah. No. Well, I think the blue one's quite good. I think you probably have more experience with the green one, and I intend to try and like piss away a lot of money to try and make this work on Arena. But the blue one, draw X cards and discard a card, and that's a may. You may do that.
Yeah.
So, like, there was a point where I'm like, shit, I'm drawing 3 cards a turn. I don't want to stop drawing cards. Yeah, and it's like, what are you going to draw at that point if you draft the deck? You draw a removal spell, you draw a land, which is also a removal spell at that point. Like, it just gets kind of dumb. And it's reminiscent of some of the other combo-esque decks that we've seen in Draft, where it was the Devious Cover-Up and Clear the Mind decks and 2 of the Ravnica sets.
And what are those? Can you remind everyone what those ones are?
Yeah. So we'll work backwards. Clear the Mind is a card that is 2 colorless, 1 blue, and its target player shuffles their graveyard into their library, draw a card. And so the idea is you just draft all of the removal spells that you come across. You draft all the fixing, and that's kind of the priority. You go Clear the Mind first, which you can generally pick up even pretty late. So if you end up with that like 3 or 4, you're like, I don't want to play more than 3. But you just keep shuffling your graveyard into your deck and then drawing into more removal spells to just get to a point where your opponent can't actually win. They can't kill you. And then they deck. Or they get so frustrated to doing this that they just concede the game. The mirror matches are really stupid, by the way.
Oh,
they are not fun to play. But working back to the Ravnica set where you had Devious Cover-Up, and that is a 4-mana counterspell, double blue, 2 colorless, and it's counter target spell. Any spell countered this way is exiled, and you may shuffle up to 4 target cards from your graveyard into your deck. So you just start looping Devious Cover-Ups. And at a certain point, like after you've like resolved the third or fourth one, generally they get the picture and they go, "Oh shit! Well, I'm just not winning." Okay, well, they get locked. Yeah,
I think they get the picture about 2 of those in.
Yeah, like
some people will look at it and they'll go, "Well, they're just going to deck, right? I just don't have to cast a spell."
Right.
Yeah, that's where you're wrong because you take jumpstart cards, you take like Radical Idea, and you just counter your own Radical Idea if they want to try and pull that. Then just watching their heads explode. Not literally, obviously, but like that scene in Scanners. The Daily Show using. Anyway, but yeah, just watching them go, oh, fuck. All right, whatever. And that was a lot of fun to do too. And
yeah, the other side of the screen when you're doing that is always just like, fuck that.
Oh god, I was gonna say I usually get like to the third counter spell before I get a concession in most decks on Arena.
It's one of those like I love playing those kinds of decks and then having Arena ask you, "Did you have fun that game?" Oh, I did. They did not. They did not have fun that game. I assure you. But I feel like that's a loaded question and a topic for another time. But
yeah,
these are probably
show topic idea. Most excruciating way to lose a Magic game.
Oh, and did you have fun? Yes, no.
Did you have fun?
That's an episode.
Smiling frowny face. Oh my goodness.
But so Dave would and the topic being, so you're saying that people for a long time have been like, oh, they banned Twin, they don't want us to have combo decks, they don't want fast kills, they don't want consistent things like that. But you're saying that when they've moved that out of constructed and particularly standard, draft is where they've really put those combo decks.
And I could see an argument that these decks aren't really combo and they're more control, but I think they feel way more combo-y when you're playing them though.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dave. I will say that I think that WOTC has demonstrated that they don't like infinite combos.
Yeah, I think
because they just completely strip away the interactivity of the game in that moment. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, I think we're on the same page here. I think WOTC's okay when it was an intentional combo and it's not dominating.
Right.
But when we start having a Field of the Dead,
I don't like how hand-holdy the modern combo design is, though. Yeah. Like, I feel like a lot of the design is designed and not emergent combos.
Well, yeah, because I feel like a lot of what we're saying is like them doing a lot of combo is a lot of what feels like same song, instead of like this is like this goes into this, that goes into this, goes into this, which like you said, Lily, feels really not interactable in the moment.
Well, I want to tread lightly here because generally I'm not one who sits here to defend Splinter Twin. I think we're generally in a better spot when Wizards intends the combo. So Splinter Twin, that was in standard. I do not think Deceiver Exarch and Splinter Twin were in standard together. It wasn't ever super dominant in standard. It became the modern deck that spawned a million.
Oh, I played Grixis Twin during that standard. I know.
Oh, I remember, yeah. But like that deck was a thing, but it was, and particularly in standard, it wasn't too much. But that was an intentional combo. And I don't know. I don't think the whole like. I have an issue with emergent combo because something that comes to mind is first off was Saheeli Cat. That was not an intended combo and needed to get banned.
Block.
Oops. We put permanent when we really should have put creature on this. But here are two other emergent combos that I have a problem with. Eggs or second breakfast. That was an emergent combo. And that deck was miserable. And Kark Clan Ironworks modern combo that had to get banned. Those are emergent combos, and those are miserable combos. Well,
those both existed beforehand too. Like I just don't think that they were overly dominating or a big enough problem.
Or people hadn't found them yet, because sometimes when you have to use 6, 7, 8 cards to really get the combo deck going, it takes a few years.
PCI in standard though, like that was a known deck in standard.
So. I think, like, the solution, I don't know. I just feel like not as much care is going into the design of the game nowadays. Or the care is being focused on different areas.
I feel like the second one is more true. I don't think it's that they've stopped devoting resources to design. I think they've altered where they're pushing design.
I just don't like it when WOTC tells me how to have fun.
Well, no, that's Fire. It's so the whole fun. So Fire is their newer design philosophy, and I don't know if I'm someone who's comfortable saying all bad things that are happening right now in WOTC are because of Fire, and that is they want their games play to be whenever they make something that has to. Fire's it's a bullshit business acronym to tell people how to do their jobs, but it's everything should be fun, interactive, replayable, and which I really exciting. I think it's exciting. Let's say it's exciting and have somebody Google it.
That's like I don't know. I thought I got enjoyment out of E.
Esoteric,
but I think limited. Like clearly they're designing it much more deliberate. Intent is being put into limited and standard with Arena. So, well. I think they're focusing on standard. I don't know why we've had like 8, 9, 10 bans in the past 2 years. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I don't want to say it's Fire.
Those cards are definitely replayable.
Well, and
Oko was in every deck.
I mean,
oh god. Can we talk about how much of a mistake introducing Ugin into an environment full of really fast ramp is?
I refuse to refer to him as anything but Eugene.
That's fair. I'm not going to fight you
yeah,
there.
You're right. That was they done goofed.
They did give us. See, sometimes they've made so many bad choices, but then like reprinting Scavenging Ooze. Oh my god, eating Uros is so much fun. Yeah. Oh my god, Rachel's doing it. Ray is doing it right now. I'm looking at Ray, and they are doing it right now because that card is awesome. God, I love Scooz.
Scooz is a good reprint. Like
there's a Scooz right there.
Like you are obligated though to say "excuse me" whenever you start activating his ability.
Ooh,
ability.
Yeah, I'm down with that. But sorry, this is a digression. Sorry, go ahead, JC.
I think from a business perspective, though, like pushing into an avenue where our design philosophy is in an area of where things feel splashy and powerful and fun all the time, like no matter if you're playing in draft or if you're playing in standard, like these things are splashy and replayable, and like this is just like an exciting game. I think that like kind of pushes like Magic into a place where it gets adopted by a lot of people and it's really accessible. And I think from a business perspective, it's sound.
But it seems like something. It's like let's make something like, and I think a good way to kind of look at it, and this is not some conspiracy theory, but let's look at the Mythics on Arena. They do something big. When you play a Mythic on Arena, a thing happens. And that feels like to me...
some rares.
And some rares. And that feels to me like a boardroom decision. It's like, we should be an esport. Esports are money. Why doesn't you make it a digital thing? Make it big, make it cool, I want pictures of Spider-Man. I want a giant dragon to fly down. And so when someone tunes on a Twitch chat, they see a dragon eat a baby. Like,
I love how you're shying away from the cliche vaudeville explanation of this stuff and instead going to Triple J. And I love that.
No, that's my anytime I'm over the top and need it and just start screaming about things, it'll normally devolve into me demanding photographs of Spider-Man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when things are exciting all the time, and maybe I'm the only one, but like when things are exciting all the fucking time, I get desensitized to it.
No, and like I actually kind of.
We talked about this in Ikoria though, because like Ikoria is like a big splashy, like everything's crazy set, and you know, like, are they kind of gonna continue going this direction?
And there were good parts of that, but then we had companions, and also like Oko, Uro, Ugin, Fires of Invention, the Cavaliers, like there's a lot of these cards that are banned that feel like, oh, let's have this big impactful thing, and it's like, well, it's too impactful, and it's the only thing that's happening. And so now, and I don't know if this is true, and maybe this is a result, and like, I don't think, Standard's been in a weird place, and like, I played Green Stompy's a thing because we have Scavenging Ooze, so like, I'm not saying Standard's garbage right now, and COVID's ruined, like, I don't know what the tournament scenes look like, we're in a weird spot, but...
Like, the tournament scenes are all Arena.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
And I don't know
Zoom
what
chats in Arena.
And I don't know, like, how healthy the format is, but somebody on Reddit posited that we've had, like, think back to Scars. It was Scars Innistrad standard.
Oof.
That was strong. We had like in Zendikar, Lightning Bolt, Goblin Guide. Now we did have a couple bands there. We had two, but think about like Splinter Twin. We had really strong cards. But someone argued that the tier 1 decks and the tier 2 or tier 1.5 decks felt closer together. And now the tier 1 decks seem like they're here and everything else is way down here. I don't know if that's true, but it's at very least something interesting to think about.
The weakening of the middle class, as we say.
The erosion of the middle class of decks and Magic.
No, okay, so like seriously, when is the last time a grindy, not even grindy in the play sense, but like not grindy in the like accruing resources through attrition kind of way? Or I'm sorry, getting away your opponent's resources, but I mean like in the way that you just run a bunch of decent middle of the road cards and all of your cards have this like same level kind of value and you just play consistently and win.
Jund. When was the last time Jund was good? And
are you talking about like Alara Jund with Skillbraid Elf?
I think I don't know specifically just that, but I think that's a good point. And somebody argued, and it's so hard to know what's right because we haven't been able to play without it. Teferi, someone's like, maybe some mid-range decks could have preyed upon these ramp decks, but we've had Teferi. And so anytime you try to play an artifact or enchantment to get value, a better card is going to come down and bounce it and make you spend your next turn replaying it. And so it's like...
It's like the old Jace test.
Yeah.
Which evolved from the Lightning Bolt test. Like, Vampire Nighthawk is a very, very strong card, but it dies to Lightning Bolts, or it gets bounced by Jace for no value.
Okay, but like the Jace thing, like, a big flashy card that does other shit too stagnates a whole fucking class of deck. I hate that design.
Like we had actual Bloodbraid in the Jund deck and like Maelstrom Pulse that preyed on Jace and kept Jace in check, at least for that standard season. And then once we lost Alara, then we started seeing Jace becoming more of a problem, especially with, Stoneforge.
And how much value did you need? You needed like, okay, I'm going to play a haste creature that then plays a spell for free. That'll outvalue the Jace. No, and
I never felt bad getting one of my creatures instantly lightning bolted. I'm just like, okay, 1 for 1.
Yeah, that was a 1-for-1. Yeah, I mean, I still played Nighthawk. Like, I'll admit, I was not a very good Magic player.
Like, you're up 2 mana, but I mean, 1 for 1.
It's generally fine. Like, if they're using their Lightning Bolt on turn 3 to kill your 2/3, they have a finite number of Lightning Bolts.
Right.
So, okay, I want to make sure. So
I hate the 3 mana Teferi.
But so that's a little bit off track there. But so well, I think it's a good conversation.
It's a good talk, though.
It was a good talk, and we're in a weird spot design wise, and
but at least, shifting kind of back into that whole combo thing. I feel like WOTC has been kind of throwing us some amount of bones when it comes to draft in general to make combo more feasible in draft. And a lot of that is as far as like set design goes, and some of that is that drafting against bots or drafting with bots, I guess, on Arena has become a thing.
Yeah.
For better or worse.
And they're keeping it. Like, that's the thing. It's like, we have 8-player draft. We're also going to keep bot draft. It's the cheapest way to draft. Boom. It's still in there.
I like bot draft, personally.
It certainly had it had a bit of a rough start, I think. For, not really a rough start, but it was kind of rough for a little bit when we had Eldraine. Eldraine was the one where Mill was leaps and bounds the best one, specifically because it would always be open for bots. And you wouldn't have that in an 8-player draft. Like, as soon as people realized that was a thing people could do.
And if anyone played a Ikoria bot draft, it was 90% white-black humans or cycling. Because the bots would not take the human decks. Like, I saw a green-blue deck once playing Ikoria bots. It wasn't good. But, yeah, it's a new way to interact with something. Draft is a great thing, and draft is best how it was originally conceived, sitting down with 8 people and playing an 8-person pod. But we live in the future now, and that doesn't work out. So now we have to live in the world of leagues, and then I don't think it's like...
The bots will get better, though. They always do.
The bots get better, and you have 8-player draft, and so we have options now. But I want to, as we move on to our third topic, there's a lot. We should make some notes here because I think we broached a lot of things to talk about at later points, particularly with current design and all sorts of fire and all sorts of things there. But let's bring it back to combo. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but then let's expand from combo just and limited to where Wizard wants combo to be. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
This week's sponsor is Nuclear Ink Custom Tattoo and Skate Shop. At Nuclear Ink, you will find a very inclusive environment with artists that share your interest in nerd culture and fandoms alike. Nuclear Ink prides themselves in being Omaha's premier all-custom tattoo shop. So if you're looking to get a custom tattoo, please check out Nuclear Ink here in Omaha, Nebraska. A link will be in the description down below. We're also sponsored by InkedGaming.com. Are you looking to get a custom playmat? Well, then we suggest you check out InkedGaming.com. They have custom playmats, dice bags, mouse pads, and so much more. They even recently added a stitch option to their playmat and mouse pads as well. Stop those frayed edges from happening. Inked Gaming lets you play your game with your style. And if you want to get 10% off of your entire order, use the code TCG University, all caps, no spaces at checkout, and help support us by customizing your game to your style. Cards Custom Builds. Are you into cosplay? Looking to get into cosplay? Do you want to show up to events dressed as your favorite character? Well, then Cards Custom Build can help. Cards Custom Build creates everything from cosplay accessories like props, trinkets, or weaponry, all the way up to full-blown costumes. Do you want to make a perfectly flowing cloth, or maybe want rigid battle armor? Cards Custom Build has you covered. The work is guaranteed to make you the talk of the con. So go over to Cards Custom Build on either Facebook or on their Etsy account. Links will be in the description down below. And make sure you mention TCG University to get 5% off your entire order. And lastly, the show is brought to you by Dex Protection. Dex Protection is on a never-ending pursuit to create the highest quality storage and protection accessories. Their design and innovation comes from die-hard gamers and collectors just like you. They're constantly taking in feedback from their customers, and they have no plans to stop their innovations or their drive to refine the products until they're recognized as a leader in their industry. They make terrific products, all with the avid gamer and collector in mind. So go ahead and check them out. The link will be in the description down below.
Welcome back, everybody. Like I said before our break, we are going to delve a little more deeply into combo. And in our little commercial break, we were actually just using Splinter Twin as the quintessential combo example. And Dave said that there is so much more to combo than just Splinter Twin. Dave, let's talk about constructed combo and not just Splinter Twin. Take us away.
We've got a quick history lesson. I mean, I think the furthest back that we can really go as far as if you want to make the Wayne's World noises, I'm good with that too. There you go. So we have Cadaverous Bloom. I think is probably Prost Bloom. It's probably the oldest combo that we can think about, and that's kind of what I go back to as far as like the old style combo deck. For those that don't know, Prost Bloom was the combination was Cadaverous Bloom and Prosperity, and the way that this combo worked is you drew a bunch of cards. You exiled a bunch of cards from your hand to make more mana, to draw more cards, to exile those cards to eventually drain life your opponent for lethal. And it was made popular by Mike Long and a few other of the old school pros. And there are so many stories about it. You can find one of the videos where in the finals, he drained life his opponent for like triple digits or something like that, more to showboat. Like he'd already won, but he wanted to win more, which is the most combo player thing I can think of. So that's
how though.
How? What do you mean?
How do you get above?
I'm not exactly sure. Like I'd have to look at it. It may not have been triple digits. I know that he made it a point to say the exact number and say, I just took some point drain life to the face. It was something like that. I'd have to find the video again. It may not have been triple digits, but I know that it was way more than it needed to be.
No, you could get to triple digits. You could.
Yeah.
Conceivably. I mean, Cadaver Spoon play, the drain in your hand, 58 other cards.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to...
You barely get to triple digits.
Yeah, so I don't think it would necessarily be possible unless he was playing more than 60 cards, but neither here nor there. But like when we start talking about combo, that was at least where we started getting first as far as like combo decks go. And then we've seen other things from there, like the old thing of naming your combo deck after breakfast foods for some reason, like Trix, Encephalid Breakfast, and like just arbitrary namings of these things. Like Trix, for those that don't know, was the Illusions of Grandeur donate combo, where you play Illusions of Grandeur to gain 20 life. And
back before Magic had moved on.
You gain 20 life, and the stipulation was there's a cumulative upkeep cost, and the idea is eventually you won't be able to pay it, and then you lose that 20 life again. So you just played that, you donated it to your opponent, and if they weren't playing blue mana, then they just lost on their upkeep. And if they were playing blue mana, then they slowly got crushed under the weight of that card, and you just need and you gain 20 life off of it. So there's that.
I've done that to so many people in Commander.
Yeah, the good old days, as it were. You had other combos as well, and I don't think I can get every single one of them, but a lot of the ones that definitely made an impact. I remember Beacon of Immortality and False Cure was a combo for a little bit, albeit a very expensive one. Beacon of Immortality doubling target player's life total, and False Cure being an instant that said if a player were to gain life, they lose 2 life.
Minor correction. It's not a replacement ability. It is a trigger. Whenever a player gains life, they lose 2 life for each life they gain.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's been a while since I played that one. I've played it a lot.
The 3-mana enchantment is a replacement ability.
Okay.
But with that combo, I'm assuming you play that and then you double their life total and they die.
And then they lose exactly their life total.
Yeah.
And they go to 0. That was the old win condition when I played Dream Halls a long time ago in Legacy. Dream Halls being another one. Turbos V was the name of that deck. And that was a fun one, where Dream Halls was given the rating of the worst card in Stronghold by InQuest magazine. Rest in peace. Zvi Mauschwitz, I might have butchered his last name, but probably one of the more... I think he was very interesting as far as his deck choices went, and he was a very good player, especially back in the olden days. But the way that his deck worked is he just drew a bunch of cards. He had Dream Halls in play, and he played a card called Lobotomy, which has been reprinted enough that people probably know what it does. But for those that don't, you name a non-land card, and then you search your opponent's hand, library, and graveyard for that card, and then remove those cards from the game. And you just kept playing those over and over again until they just had nothing but basic lands left.
You don't name it. You pick something that's in their hand.
Lobotomy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I haven't played that card in a while.
Yeah, you're thinking of the Cranial Extraction is what you're thinking of. Understandably, getting those mixed.
Yeah. But the point being that was a way to just kind of lock them out of the game, and it took for fucking effort. But the idea is that they just can't do anything.
There was that 5-mana black spell that did the same thing for every card in the graveyard.
Haunting Echoes, but that hadn't been printed yet.
Right, no, that's not the same era, but it is the same kind of
yeah. But the old Traumatized Haunting Echoes was a fun combo if you could get it off, make them mill the top half of their library and then exile it. But the point being, there are a lot of combos, and sometimes the combos are overly degenerate. Sometimes they just win too quick. You have Flash Hulk. Flash Hulk was not a combo deck that WotC's okay with because you could win on turn 0.
The quintessential too quick combo deck.
You win during your opponent's first upkeep before they even play a land.
Yeah, before they had a chance to draw a card even. But I guess draw a land first. The second that you have priority, you just won, and that's dumb. And that's not a thing you should be allowed to do, but you could. Which made Force of Will obviously the Lich, but they solved the problem by getting rid of Flash. There were all sorts of other combos that have been too powerful. You guys keep going back to Splinter Twin, which makes sense. That's something that's still fresh in people's mind.
No, I was mostly joking. I think Splinter Twin is probably fine for the formats that would be legal right now.
I think turn 4 is where you want to be comboing off. That's fine.
Well, that's the joke I was making. So, for a long time, Pleasant Kenobi had the I don't understand my Stoneforge Mystic is banned in Modern. And then it got unbanned in Modern. And then he's like, well, shit, I need something. And then he's like, well, okay, Splitter Twin.
And I think one of the idea, this whole WotC hates combo, is that back in the old days, people played all the combo decks that Dave was talking about. And nowadays, there's no combo or less combo. Now, I'd say there is a combo deck in Standard right now, and it's that goddamn cat oven deck.
And that's fine. That's a fun combo.
Here's my problem.
Beatable. You can interact with it.
It's not on Arena.
And that's what I want to. So I don't have a problem with the power level of the deck, particularly post Lura's fix. And now we have Scavenging Ooze. We have some interaction. Sure, great.
Well, we had interaction before too. We had Leyline of the Void. You had Temerit, whatever the hell that thing is.
No, and we had a Grafdigger's Cage. Here's something to think about though, that I want to talk about. Oh God, it's miserable to play against it in Arena.
Yeah,
not because it's too good, just because if I was playing in paper, someone who has 4 food, they go, I'm gonna do this 4 food, sack food, boom. You take 4, I gain 4.
And I think you run into that problem with Magic Online too. That was always like the biggest problem with playing any sort of combo deck on those.
Oh Lord, I know.
So much clicking. I remember playing a Paradox Engine deck for a while, and there was so much clicking you had to do. When we got it. Oh, sorry, JC, go.
Isn't there a fair amount of settings that you can set to not do as much clicking?
So obtuse.
On Magic Online, yes. I'm not sure about Arena.
There's some things you can do. You can resolve all things.
Yeah, I know there's some options for resolving things without clicking them.
There's a few things. If your opponent puts a bunch of things on the stack, there's the resolve all button.
Right.
But it's just something to consider. It's like, particularly with infinite combos, like if you have a combo 1-2, the big thing happens. Great. But yeah, if you have to nickel and dime. Yeah, that's exactly that runs itself. But yeah, if you got to nickel and dime your opponent down, like a thing that I try to work on as for self-improvement is I try to be a more patient person. But oh boy, is my patience tested when I watch the freaking cat oven player subparly sacrifice food, and it's just like, my God, go faster.
To immediately come to the aid of my kin that's playing combo, it's so much easier to be able to point out people's mistakes looking from the outside in.
Certainly.
And that's something that, like, okay, I get it. People are like, well, you played that turn, you're comboing terribly. You're doing this really bad. Yeah, I mean, like, there are a lot of decisions to make.
That's very complicated.
It's very frustrating to be made to sit there watching your opponent have all of the fun, which I've been on both sides of the table, certainly. It's sometimes much easier to be like an outside influence and get mad at them for doing that. I've done it too. I'm guilty of it too. But
we talk about 4 Horsemen.
Let's talk about it briefly.
Yeah, bring it up. You know more.
Okay.
What's 4 Horsemen, Lily?
So that's the deck where you use the things that repeatedly mill yourself,
or something,
right? With something that untaps itself, right? To put your whole deck in your graveyard. But the goal is to get the staying power comes from getting your enough Narcomoebas into play by putting them into your graveyard, to sacrificing the Dreader turn to bring back the thing to combo out, right? Okay, the deck in practice is fine. Well, kind of, so that's complicated. But like, the deck works in practice, but the problem is with a lot of combos, especially infinite combos, you can shortcut. Anytime you can predict what the game state would look like when you have a
deterministic loop.
A deterministic loop, and you can say after so many iterations of this loop, the game will look like this. We're going to shortcut to that.
Very briefly,
you want to interject.
Very briefly, to add on to that, yeah. So the big version example of that is the Splinter Twin. We make infinite Deceiver Exarchs. I say I make 12 billion unless you'd like to take a step. I have 12 billion creatures with haste. Or the quick one, even with Cat. I do this thing with my food tokens 5 times. 5 drain, boom. We've shortcutted both of those, so that's a quick example of that. So please.
Well, and practically nothing in Magic is technically infinite. Like, even though you could do it infinitely, you have to set a point. So the Cat thing being 5 iterations and the Splinter Twin being 18 trillion is the same thing, because you can predict what the game state would look like after so many flips. Polyraptor's a little different. We'll get to them in a second, but the 4 Horsemen, the problem is, so the deck used Emrakul or one of the other Eldrazi to shuffle your whole library in to let you keep doing it. The problem was you could never shortcut, because if your deck is sufficiently randomized, you can't predict the order of the deck. Even though after a sufficient amount of iterations, you can probably have gotten what you need and accomplished what you need to win the game, you could never guarantee that, so you couldn't shortcut it. The other problem comes in with tournament play, which if you're doing stuff in-game and you're not meaningfully advancing one of the things in-game, advancing your board state, drawing cards, changing life totals, if you're not meaningfully changing the game state, it's slow playing. So this was a deck where if it went poorly and you got bad luck, you couldn't shortcut. So you had to do every iteration, because every card you flip could be Emrakul, and then you have to start over. You couldn't shortcut it.
Another good example is that I mentioned earlier in the in one of those combos we accidentally stumbled into that Wizards didn't necessarily intend. Eggs, second breakfast, second sunrise. Another one where you would have to sequence a lot of things, a lot of shuffles, a lot of things that you couldn't necessarily predict. And it could literally take 20 minutes for you at a good clip to be executing your combo that may or may not work.
Right. That's the big problem is it might not do anything. You might play it as fast as you can for an hour, and you could never predict what the game state would look like. So the deck is not playable in tournament Magic. The only reason it's playable, I bring it up, is because in MTGO, it is playable because of the chess clock.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you would ever actually be able to demonstrate Four Horsemen actually working. Like, if you have infinite time, absolutely, and that was always the problem with it. There's something like Second Sunrise, or it feels like just a worse version of Cephalid Breakfast. I hate Cephalid Breakfast. I think that deck's dumb, but because I think I only ever see people misplay it. And I would never want to play that deck because I'm going to misplay it.
X is a really hard archetype to play.
And these are things that WOTC has banned. WOTC, I think it's clear to state, WOTC doesn't want that. Something I do want to get into briefly is...
It's really interesting, though, to talk about it as an artifact of Magic, about like how, Magic has come about. Because, I do kind of find it an interesting topic. I just want to throw that out there. It is a fun thing to think through the thought experiment of someone playing that and saying like, hey, can we just agree that I'll get what I get? And it's like, no, play it.
Yeah, and the problem with some of those decks was you can't guarantee it. It's like, you might fizzle out, you might run out of resources, and then I get a chance, then I'm going to take my 20-second turn. Hope you aren't dead yet, your go. Let's start that over again. And so Wizards, and that's the thing, it was the first time I watched a second breakfast deck go, I think it was Stanislav Siska playing it. I'm totally butchering his name, and I'm very sorry. And I was like, this is crazy awesome. And the second time, I'm like, wow, okay, this is a little boring. And then the third time, it's like, oh my god, this is my life now. This is what Magic is, I guess. Yeah. And I think Wizards has made it clear they don't want that. And something that's interesting that happened, and I want to bring up Pioneer briefly.
The players have made it clear they don't want that.
They don't want that. It's not good for tournament play, and so they WOTC the players. It's not a thing we have. And combo is allowed to a degree until it becomes too prevalent, and then it generally gets banned. Splinter Twin was the pace setter of Modern for a long time, and then finally we hit some critical mass, or WOTC decided enough was enough. I got the axe. And Pioneer's in a weird place because initially Pioneer, when it was getting its weekly, bi-weekly bans as the format came out, which wasn't a problem. They said we're going to keep it open and ban as we go. They were really aggressive in banning cards. And then we hit Theros, and the two best decks in Pioneer right now. I would say the three best decks in Pioneer are all combo decks. There's Dimir Inverter, which just uses that weird blue-black card from the Zendikar Reloaded that exiles... Mono-black. That's right. It's a blue-black deck. The mono-black demon that exiles your library and then puts your graveyard, shuffles your graveyard in, and Thassa's Oracle to combo out. And then there's also Lotus Breach, which uses the Underworld Breach and the hexproof sack 2 lands Lotus Land to just make a bunch of mana and just do stuff. And then the third one, which I'm a little vindicated for, but I'm still going to owe Dave Pizza, is Heliod Walking Ballista combo, which is a thing. It is seeing play.
It's playable, yeah.
It's just not as broken as I thought, as Pleasant Kenobi led me to believe it would be to make that pizza bet.
Walking Ballista is a really powerful card. It was super pushed.
Yeah. They fucked that card. They should not have printed that card.
Well, Dave, you have six. If it's not banned in the next 6 months, I have to buy you pizza.
Ambitious to think that we might still be around in 6 months.
I know it, right? You got to keep out that hope. But it's one of those interesting things.
Though, Wizards is printing push cards. Like, why not push the Ballista?
That was. I think most of Kaladesh was kind of maybe we shouldn't have made things this good.
Yeah,
but I'm okay with pushed cards, but and I went from Pioneer being one of the most exciting things going on in Magic and like being really keyed into that format. The format looks terrible now. And from what I'm seeing, and like, again, this is just anecdotal evidence from Reddit, but like events aren't firing on Moto as consistently as they were. The companion, part of it is companions ruined it. Every deck was a Luris deck. And so now companions are at a reasonable place, and there's other decks, but like percentage wise, the top 3 decks, like 40% of the meta is combo. And like, while I'm not against combo existing in Magic, clearly it's got a history and is a style that multiple people enjoy playing. Pioneer seems like hot garbage right now, and I don't want to touch that. Like, oh, which flavor of combo are you going to kill me with? Oh, you're doing the Dimir inverted, or oh, you're going to just do Lotus Preacher. Oh, you're killing me in mono white combo. What an exciting change of pace. It's like,
I do wonder, Tam, you might be best equipped to answer this question. Do a lot of card games do combo as part of their infrastructure, as part of their history and fabric?
What do you mean as like combo, right?
Explain how every Yu-Gi-Oh deck works.
I guess what I'm referring to is more the complicated combos that we've been discussing, like where they are like this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and it's hard to interact with, and like you kind of finish it.
So that is actually like the entire gameplay loop of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is on my turn 1, I'm supposed to take my 40 card deck and then search and pull out 20 to 25 cards and make this unbreakable board. And then you get your 6 cards to break my board and then kill me. And then if you don't do that, I get 1 additional card and whatever's the remnants of my board to then kill you. And that's like the entire 2 out of 3 45-minute gameplay loop.
Sounds like Legacy without Force of Will.
Yeah. I mean, they have variants of. They have Effect Veiler, but Effect Veiler only does so much. Like you still have a bunch of hand traps, right?
There's nothing. All of our counter spells don't cost mana, so you just gotta draw them.
Everything's free.
Well, yeah, Force of Will.
Whenever I take and I look at other card games, combos like exist, but nothing is. I haven't seen nearly when it comes to like Final Fantasy, things are a little more mid-rangey. When I look at Weiss Schwartz, things are a little more mid-rangey. Universes, like we've got these big combos, but because of how the progressive difficulty works, like it's very, very hard to go infinite to the point where the game and the owner don't necessarily like infinites, because once you go infinite, it's super hard if you don't have one counter. Like looking back at Fire, we're no longer playing a game. I'm watching you play solitaire, right? And that's not fun or interactive.
So, from what I know of other card games, a lot of them also, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, because I think you would know better than I do, but a lot of them have hard limits on the things that you can do in a given turn, whereas Magic has soft limits.
Yeah.
From anything everywhere that I've heard, so like there are some games that have specific if you, let's say in Yu-Gi-Oh, last I remember, when I take and I am going to start my turn, I can only touch one of my zones X amount of times before I'm allowed to make a significant play, before I'm allowed to push something in, right? So gathering all the information I can look at my discard pile 3 times and your discard pile 3 times, and then if I look at that more than X amount of time limit, I could be called as stalling, right? Because the game is so combo based that it is sometimes you have, hey, I'm going to take a 5-minute turn and then you're going to take a 5-minute turn, and that's like, that could be on the low end. That's when my combo doesn't work.
Sure.
Very rarely do you have the play one pass type game happening in other card games. But at the same time, like Pokemon is the same way. Like I'm trying to draw my whole deck every single turn of the game.
But it's an interesting thing, though, is so Magic, there's not a limit to your deck size. There's not a limit to how many creatures you can have on the battlefield. There's not a limit to how high your life can get. And like I know Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, you have a bench. You can have one guy out. Yu-Gi-Oh! Can't you just have like 5 creatures? Like there's 5 creature slots, and you can't go to 6. Or am I incorrect in that?
Correct. Technically, there's now a 6th, but like that's semantics. There is a limited number.
So I mean, and the universes seems more like Magic than those other examples, because you've got your mana, you've got your resource system, and you've got your main character thing. But I've seen y'all churn through some decks in that game.
For sure.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I want to say about Magic, like, is, you know, for all the like combo feels bad kind of feelings about it, I think Wizards does set a pretty good bar about giving you a lot of soft caps and giving you a lot of things that aren't actually like hard caps that you will run against if you try to do things, but also printing cards in such a way that like drawing out your whole deck is actually like really hard to do.
I mean, clearly, I mean, this is surprising to me, but yeah, I would have. It's weird when I hear that, like, oh, these games are like really built around combos, because it's like, I think combo certainly has a place in Magic, but I'm not touching Pioneer with a 10-foot pole because it's like half combo right now, and so it's like, okay, Yu-Gi-Oh sounds terrible to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends on how you want to spend your time, right?
And
that's true.
And that's fair. Like, if I mean, clearly there is an audience that loves what Yu-Gi-Oh's doing, and I'm not like correct. It's just that doesn't sound good to me, and I'm not anti winning with a combination of cards. You could ask my Commander play group. I'll get there. But like, my thought on it is, it's like, it's turn 13, it's turn 14. I'm gonna do this now. Not let's see how fast and consistently I can do this. Which, I mean, and that's for me, it's like, I like combo. I think there's a place in it. And I actually, kind of with Dave, I think limited combo is a place where I'd rather be, because you kind of have to work for it. It's harder. And so I don't know. I want to live in a world where combo and Magic is fairly constrained. It's there, but it's when it starts being over a third of the meta game in a format, that's when I start feeling like this is not a format I want to be playing necessarily. Where do you guys come down on that?
I have a question for you first about Pioneer. Do you think Force of Will would fix Pioneer?
I think a Force of Will, Force of Negation style effect, or whatever the Modern Horizons one, it's not the zero cost one. Force of Negation, I think it's Force of Negation. It might help. Force of Will is a really strong Magic card. You're never happy. I don't know. Maybe. I'm bad at making calls like this. I'm going to say a resounding maybe? I don't know.
That's a mood. Force of Will is a resounding maybe.
JC, where do you come down, I guess, in combo? Just a final thought as we wrap things up.
Oh, if anyone who's been watching this show for a while knows I'm big on analogies, so allow me to make an analogy. I think I like when Magic plays a lot like StarCraft. That you're building up resources and that you're building up your kind of board state over time, and then you crush your enemy. And yes, I know Zerg rushing is a thing. But like, also, like, I get that people have a lot of fun when they are. We talked about this a little bit in our player psychographics last week. People do have a lot of fun when they're building something really complicated and it works, and they go through it. So I think there's definitely a place for it. I think it's just a thing that, for Magic to keep being the game it is, where it is a thing where you build to at least maybe turn 4. I think that's kind of where they feel like that's where things can start popping off. You got to use a soft hand in how much you make combo a thing.
Okay. Lily, where do you come down? What are your thoughts?
Just in general, or
combo in all, just general thoughts on combo. Just kind of loosely wrap it up. We were kind of broad on this final topic, so whatever you want to talk about.
Yes, I'm very pro combo. I don't know. I think the most interesting gameplay in Magic that I've ever had is in really mathy combo decks that are hard to play.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry, that made me like cough and laugh and swallow wrong, because like it's such a Lily answer. It's like, how do you feel about combo? Yes.
You're talking to the person who, upon wanting to get into MTGO, decided her Brea Eggs deck was the best decision.
That's fair. Okay, and then I want to make sure we get Dave's final thoughts in here. So one thing I was
vanished.
One of the things I want to acknowledge the possible accusations of hypocrisy against someone who plays a lot of mono red and enjoys burn. Aggro, and it's one of those weird fine lines where, like, is a deck that's all lightning bolts. It's kind of a combo deck that's really just like I'm just gonna play. The combo. A lot of time combos. I'm gonna do my own thing and try to do the solitaire thing. Burn can very much be. I'm gonna try to play 7 lightning bolts against you before you stop me from playing 7 lightning bolts, and like that appeals to me in a way that Splinter Twin doesn't. And I don't know if that's a flavor feeling.
So actually, I'll kind of put this out here, and more experienced players can correct me, but I feel like a thing that if you have a complicated deck that you think is going to go really far, one of the things you test it against is players who build decks like, I'm going to play lightning bolts until you die.
No, that's fair, JC. I agree with that statement. But Brett, here, I don't think it's combo. Here's why. I think a meaningful definition of combo is a deck where the pieces are more powerful together than they are independently. Lightning bolts, a deck full of lightning bolts and burn spells is very linear.
That's fair to say. And it was one of those that I wasn't saying like burn is combo changed my mind. It's there are similarities that I'm willing to admit.
Sure.
But
it's non-interactive. But
yeah,
can be.
It is certainly non-interactive in a way. I guess if you have counter spells.
And Dave, before we wrap up, I wanted to get your final thoughts on combo. Where do you come down on just combo and constructed formats in general? Is there a limit where it starts being too much, or you combo all the time?
I am fine with combo all the time. I think that what WOTC should be doing on that one is only banning as an absolute last resort. I feel like their normal solutions are, let's go ahead and print really narrow silver bullets that nobody wants to actually play. And hope that solves the problem. I don't think it necessarily does. I think they should be. I think they should be open more to the idea of having combo as part of what they have going on, and they certainly do, at least in draft. But as far as constructed goes, I think they probably could be a little less cautious on that, and just kind of like intentionally let some combo happen instead of just, oh shit, we didn't realize this cat and planeswalker would be too dominating. Also, we printed them in the same block. Oops-a-daisy.
I have no sympathy. That is shit design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I think that's a good enough good place as any to wrap things up. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week. I'll be streaming this Wednesday. Dave, I'm assuming you'll be doing some streaming over the next week at some point.
Oh, definitely. So, yeah. Hopefully some tonight. I've got some stuff to take care of, but hopefully that won't take too long.
Okay, well, so catch us on Twitch if you want to see us before, and if not, we'll see you a week from today. Thank you all for tuning in, everybody. Have a good one, and remember who you are.